Do you know the difference between fault and responsibility and which one you should be focused on to help you out in the sport of powerlifting and even in life? Well, in this video, we're going to break it all down so you can figure out which thing you should be focusing on and how you should be focused on it. So let's get right into the video. Alrighty, what's going on, my powerful people? Thank you for tuning in to another video. In this video, we're going to break down the idea of something being your fault versus being your responsibility. So we're going to break down what this means and how you should be focusing on these things, or which one you should be focusing on more importantly when it comes to the sport of powerlifting. So when it comes to something that is your fault, it means that you are the reason why that it happened. You specifically caused this issue and it is your fault. But when it comes to responsibility, it may not be you the one that caused it. You may not be 100% at fault here, but it is still your duty to acknowledge it and then do what is necessary. So let's go to a couple of examples, first outside of powerlifting, and then we'll focus inside of powerlifting. So when it comes to outside of powerlifting, one concept that we'll talk about is for example, you're driving down the street and someone just walks in the middle of the street and walks in front of your car and you hit them. So was this your fault that the person was jaywalking? Maybe they were drunk or whatever. They thought they can just cross the street. They didn't see your car and they walked right into your car and you didn't have time to stop. No, it wasn't your fault. It was their fault. They decided to break the rules, break the law, and walk in front of your car, and you tried to avoid them, but you couldn't, you hit them. But is it your responsibility to stop and help this person out, call 911, get an ambulance there, and potentially save their life? Yes. So that's one example to see that difference. Another example could be, let's say you're about to leave your house and go to the gym or whatever like that. You open up your door and someone left a newborn baby at your doorstep and they just walked away. Now again, is this your fault that someone neglected their child and put it at your doorstep? No, but it is your responsibility to bring this child in and again, call the police, whatever, figure out who the parent is or find out what you can do with the kid as far as taking it to the doctor or to a foster home, whatever. Yes, again, it is your responsibility. It is your duty to do the right thing in that moment, whether it is accidentally hitting someone with your car or someone leaving a kid at your door. And the same thing here applies when it comes to the sport of powerlifting. In powerlifting, we are humans. The referees are humans. The juries are humans. The spotters and loaders, the scoring table, your coach even are humans, and they make mistakes. So a judge may make a bad call. A spotter loader may load the wrong weight, or they may grab the bar early, or they may give a bad lift off. That is not your fault that they made that mistake in their position, but it is still your responsibility to go there and adjust and be adaptable. So for example, if a spotter touches the bar and your coach goes and talks to a jury and gets you a relift, and now you have to go in 3, 4, 5 minutes, you have to go and retake your attempt, it is still your responsibility to calm down, relax, take your time to recover, and then go out there and try and execute the best you can doing a relift. Or maybe you don't want the relift, and then again, it's your strategy to, say, listen, it's not my fault this happened, but I'm responsible for what I want to do on this day, what numbers I want to hit, and so I'll pass on this attempt and save my energy and just retake it on my second attempt. And the same thing for a bad liftoff. The liftoff person may give you a bad liftoff, okay? It's not your fault, it's their fault. Maybe they didn't listen to you correctly, maybe they're not experienced and they just pulled on you too much, but it's still your responsibility to adjust. So you can either take the bad liftoff, try and get into the best position you can and go and execute your attempt, or if you have the time because you went out there early enough, you can rack the bar, tell the spotter, hey, you pulled up too much, give it to me a little bit less, let's do this again, and go through your step again and go and execute your attempt. Again, it's not your fault that this happened, but you are still responsible for going and adjusting and making the attempt. So when I was at the Arnold a couple weeks ago, these are some of the things that I saw when I was at these different events, is that maybe there was a flight with 4 or 5 lifters and people were complaining, or maybe the liftoff person was bad and people were complaining, or maybe someone got called on depth and they were complaining. Some of the stuff may have been their fault, maybe they did indeed squat high and that's why the referees called them high, but some of the stuff was just out of their control. Maybe a loader loaded the wrong weight and they didn't realize it afterwards. Again, maybe the liftoff person gave a bad liftoff. Again, it's not your fault as a competitor, but we are humans and humans make mistakes, so it's your responsibility in the meet to be adaptable and adjust to what's going on. If the referees are calling depth a certain way and you're getting called on it, it is your responsibility to go down deeper and give them what they want, okay? if a spotter touches the bar and you have to do a relift, again, it's your responsibility to calm yourself down, be able to recover as much as you can, and go and execute. Because things aren't going according to your plan doesn't mean that you should shut everything down. What it means that you have to be adaptable and adjust your plan in the moment. So then again, that's when you decide, do I take the relift? Do I pass on the relift? Once we take the relift or pass on it, what do we do as far as our next attempts? Do we change our plan and shift things down to play it more conservative, and then move forward from there? And again, when it comes to these mistakes or there's issues that happen in a competition, a way to look at it is to focus on what you should be doing versus focusing on what you shouldn't be doing. So as an example to this, as far as like squat depth, you should be focusing on, okay, I'm going to continue to sink my hips a little bit lower until I feel I've gone past parallel and then come up, versus focusing on, okay, I won't cut it high, I won't cut it high. The focusing on what you should do is going to be more effective for you than focusing on what you shouldn't do. And you can think about this when it comes to anything. If you're trying to like ignore something, or you're trying not to look at something, if you keep thinking about it like, hey, don't look at it, don't look at it, don't look at it, don't look at it, it's just going to be in your mind that, oh, I'm going to look at it, I have to look at it, like I need to look at this. And so by focusing on what you shouldn't do, you actually focus on it so much that you end up doing that thing. So if you're focusing on, okay, don't cut it high, don't cut it high, don't cut it high, or let's say you're benching, you're like, don't lift your butt up, don't lift your butt up, don't lift your butt up, you're thinking about it so much that you're going to end up doing that exact thing. So instead, you want to be focusing on whatever cue you need of what you should be doing. So you may be focusing on, okay, drive the feet horizontally, and have the weight go up onto my shoulders, and that's going to help keep my butt down. So your cue in the meet may just be, okay, drive my toes to the front of my shoes, drive the toes to my front of shoes, rather than thinking, don't lift your butt, don't lift your butt, don't lift your butt. So these are important ideas and ways to think about these ideas that are going to help you in the sport of powerlifting when different things like that happen in a meet, because inevitably you're going to go to a meet that's going to have very few lifters and maybe get done in 2 hours, or maybe a ton of lifters and it's going to be a 7-hour day. It may be very hot and humid in there. The lights may be flashing in your eyes. The referees may be making tough calls. There may be no jury to go protest in. The bar may be, not as good as far as knurling. The platform may be slippery. There's all these different things that are going to happen when you go to enough meets. So you have to learn how to be adaptable. You have to learn how, okay, this isn't my fault, but I'm not going to just pout and quit and call it a day. I'm going to adapt and adjust to what's going on, because it's still my responsibility to come out here on the platform and execute my attempts to the standards that are being set for that day. And it's also important to note that everyone else in your session or your flight or your competitors are going through the same thing. So they may be also dealing with the slippery platform. They may be also dealing with long press commands on the bench press. So they're going through the same things that you're going through, and the person is more effective at thinking, okay, I have to be responsible for what's going on here. I have to learn how to adjust and give the lifts to the standards that they want, and pick the attempts that I'm capable of to those standards on this specific day. And that's going to help you beat out those competitors, because if you're willing to do it and they're not willing to do it, then you're going to execute better and perform better on the day. And if you want to dive a little bit deeper into these mental concepts, then you definitely want to see this video I did before about process versus outcome oriented goals. So I'll catch you guys in that next video.